Consider everything in your surroundings that you're missing out on every day. The calming fireplace, the drizzling rain, the sizzling bacon, or perhaps the popping bubble wraps. It is the symphony of sounds that make life richer, so don't miss out. Introducing the new Hearing Sensory System 2018. It's compact, it's efficient, and it's super simple.
So how do you use our product? It's easy. Just add sound. And yes, you can add however much you like. Sound is the only input material needed for hearing. So how does sound work their way into the ear where they are registered and transformed into action potentials? Vibration. You know, the process that happens when you talk, strum the guitar, or bang the drums. Those vibrations in turn cause air particles to vibrate as well, thus producing sound waves that carry the vibration through the air. But wait, there's more. You'll also be spoiled with options and varieties. Why? Because different vibrating objects produce differently shaped sound waves. A sound's frequency describes the number of waves that pass a fixed point at a given amount of time, so whilst shorter waves that are moving quickly up and down produce higher pitched sounds, fewer, slower fluctuations produce lower pitched sounds. An amplitude describes the sound's loudness and is the difference between high and low pressures created in the air by that sound wave. In order for you to identify different sounds with our hearing mechanism, sound waves have to enter the area of your ear where those air pressure and frequencies fluctuations can be converted into electrical signals that the brain can comprehend. Still wondering how sound actually gets in there? The three main areas of your ear are the outer and the middle ear, which are both involved with hearing, as well as the hidden inner ear, which includes the cochlea, the balance mechanism, the vestibular, and the auditory nerve. And the inner ear is involved in hearing and equilibrium maintenance. Firstly, the auricle, or the externally visible skin-covered cartilage that you can pierce with an earring, catches sound waves and passes them deeper into the ear. Once captured, the sound is then passed into the auditory canal toward your middle and inner ear. These sound waves eventually collide with your eardrums, aka the membrane that divides your external and middle ear, which in turn produce vibrations that are then passed along ossicles in the middle ear. The middle ear, also called the tympanic cavity, then receives and amplifies those vibrations or sound waves to strengthen them when they enter the inner ear by focusing the pressure of these sound waves. Or, more specifically, by utilizing the auditory ossicles, which are the malleus, incus, and stapes. One side of the malleus is connected to the eardrum and moves back and forth when the eardrum vibrates, whilst the other end is connected to the incus, which also happens to be connected to the stapes. This process collects and transfers eardrum vibrations to the oval window, thus allowing fluid in the cochlea contained within the inner ear to move. Strengthening the sound waves is important because the cochlea within the inner ear is filled with liquid particles, which, compared to air particles, are a lot harder for sound waves to travel through. What's so important about the inner ear? Firstly, it converts vibrations into electrical impulses that can be understood by the brain as sounds. And secondly, it helps maintain your equilibrium or balance. To execute these tasks, the inner ear consists of the bony labyrinth, which is the outer layer of the inner ear, the membranous labyrinth, which are the sacs and ducts within the bony labyrinth, and the cochlea, that contains three main chambers, which are the scala vestibuli, the scala media, and scala tympani. These chambers are divided by various membranes, with the most prominent one being the basilar membrane, which conducts sound and communicates it to the nervous system. Above the basilar membrane is the receptor organ for hearing called the organ of Corti, which is lined with hair cells that give rise to nerve signals in response to sound vibrations. The basilar membrane is covered in more than 20,000 fibers that increase in length the farther you go down the membrane. Whilst the fibers near the cochlea base are short and stiff, the fibers toward the end are longer and looser. Interestingly, different fibers indicate different frequencies, therefore, where the membrane vibrates is dependent on the pitch of the sound. More specifically, higher frequency pressure vibrates the part of the membrane with short fibers, whilst lower frequency pressure vibrates the part of the membrane with longer fibers. So, if it's vibrating near the cochlea base, you're hearing a high frequency sound. If it's vibrating towards the apex, you're hearing a low frequency sound. But of course, as with every other sensory product, our product won't work and nothing is getting heard until the brain knows what's going on. So as mentioned before, the organ of Corti is lined with hair cells, each of which is topped with tiny hair bundles called the stereocilia. When movement of stereocilia from vibrations of the basilar membrane opens up mechanically gated potassium channels, the large chemical gradient causes an influx of potassium ions that depolarize the cell and generates graded potentials which lead to action potentials. Those electrical impulses travel from the organ of Corti along the cochlear nerve and up the auditory pathway to the cerebral cortex. The brain can then detect the pitch of the sound based solely on the location of the hair cells that are being triggered. For example, louder sounds move the hair cells more, generating bigger graded potentials and therefore more frequent action potentials to occur. Finally, the cerebral cortex tries to make sense of the given signals and place them into stored memories and experiences in order for us to identify what the sound is associated to. As you can see, with our hearing sensory system, you'll be able to experience the pleasure of laughter, music, and many more from 20 Hz up to 20,000 Hz. Of all of our senses, our hearing is perhaps the most precious. If we lose it, we lose contact with the people we love and the world around us. Your hearing matters. Get yours now for only $89.99 on hearing.com.